Testing.
My wife hyphenated. She gets flagged for.
Yeah, I want to move. Testing. 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 That's clear?
Testing.
Okay.
Testing. Testing. ABC. Good.
Testing. Testing.
Are you going to be
ABC.
that close the entire time?
No.
So then back
Back
up.
up.
Bit to where you're going to be. No, just sit back like you would normally
Okay.
answer a question. Yeah.
Testing. Testing. Good. I mean, I'll project anyway, but.
Right. It's like I'm talking to my students. What? Who said that?
Check. Sound check. Check.
That'll be fine. Thank you.
Sound check. Are we getting questions from the audience? No. Okay, great. Sound check?
Did you turn it on?
No.
Oh, I got to turn it on?
Is it on?
Top, right there.
I'm Robin.
Hello, hello.
It works.
Cool. All right. That'll be fine. Thank you much.
I think I'll stand over here so it doesn't look like I'm hiding in the corner. Just start on the screen. This way. Come in. I have to check my email from Bill. No. I didn't see it. It was in an article on Tap Into. Small. Yeah.
Does everyone have some paper if they want to have it for notes or anything? Everyone has what they need? Great. Just out of curiosity, do we have just some parents in the audience? Or
Yeah.
is everyone?
Everybody.
Okay, it's not
Yeah.
like
Nope.
just who on the PTA or whatever, just
Parent,
parents?
parent,
Okay.
parent.
Great.
Yep.
Good, good, good. That's great.
Yeah. That's what it is. I think everyone's going to be slowly coming in. Yeah. Yeah. There was lots of sports activities today. And since we pushed up the start time. That's nice. Yeah. It'd be nice. It's nice.
I am going to put us live.
Okay. You tell.
6:29.
Okay.
I figured.
Yep.
Great.
Tell me when I can start us off. Okay. All right, we're ready. Okay. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight for the Board of Education Candidates Forum. My name is Suzanne Apizzato Bjorklund, and I'm the president of the Scotch Plains Fanwood PTA Council and your host for this evening's event. The Scotch Plains Fanwood PTA has always been a strong advocate for the success of our children, families, and communities. As part of our mission, we are committed to ensuring that the community has the opportunity to meet the Board of Education candidates for the upcoming election. We are pleased to host this forum so you, the voters, can hear from the candidates who aim to shape the educational platform for our children in the years ahead. There are 4 Scotch Plains candidates running to fill 3 three-year term available positions. We have Deb Brody, we have John Greenblatt, we have Karen Kolakowski, and Tanya Williams. All of tonight's questions have been submitted in advance by members of the community and have been carefully screened. I would like to thank Joan Strum from the Sturm, I said it wrong, I apologize, from the League of Women Voters for moderating tonight's forum. Joan, a trained League of Women Voters moderator since 2018. Joan has moderated debates for the League, both in person, like tonight, and in recent years, and also virtually. Joan is here tonight representing the League of the Morris area. Joan believes educating and informing voters of who their candidates are for upcoming elections and where they stand on important issues and concern to the voters is of utmost importance and is delighted to be a part of the process. Thank you, Joan. Turn it over.
Thank you. Thank you, Suzanne Bjorklund. Did I say that right? Or B Yorkland. B Yorkland. And welcome to the Scotch Plains voters who are here in the room, joining us tonight in person, and all of you, those who are joining us for the live stream or may look at their recording later, welcome. This is the event of the SPF Board of Education, and it's on their YouTube channel. Thank you, candidates, for coming out tonight to answer some of the voters' most pressing questions. I'm pleased to be with you tonight as the League of Women Voters moderator. This is a forum dedicated to hearing the views only of the candidates running for the Scotch Plains Board of Education. It is one of the League of Women Voters' primary responsibilities to ensure that voters like you are informed of who is on the ballot in a nonpartisan format such as tonight. The League of Women Voters of New Jersey is a nonpartisan, nonprofit political organization that works to empower voters and defend democracy. Founded 100 years ago, we make democracy work by protecting voting rights and encouraging robust participation. Elections and voting are core concerns to the League of Women Voters. Leagues are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and the position candidates take on those issues to help you, the voters, make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. The League of Women Voters never supports or opposes candidates for office or political parties. Any use of the League name or footage from the forum in campaign materials, literature, or advertising of any kind, including and not limited to the internet, cable, radio, or television, has not been authorized by the League of Women Voters. Today, what is being recorded is in its entirety. As a courtesy to the candidates, I'd ask everyone to turn off their cell phones and other electronic devices, at least please mute them. And please refrain from taking any photographs or recordings of your own during the forum. The voters of Scotch Plains have had an opportunity to submit their questions via a linked Google form online, and these varied questions have been reviewed by representatives from the PTA for length, clarity, and language, and in an attempt to consolidate multiple questions on one topic into a single question. And you will see that with my second question, which is a number of questions combined together on the same topic. Your specific question may not be asked, but you will see it represented in the questions that we're asking. To ensure that the meeting is informative as possible, and so that we can move along in the time allotted and hear equally from each candidate, we ask that you hold your applause or any comments until the end of the forum. Now, I'm just going to review for the audience what the debate format is. The candidates are all familiar with it. It has been reviewed with them. Each candidate will have an opportunity for a 2-minute opening statement. Each candidate has drawn a number to determine the order that opening and closing statements will be given. I, the moderator, will then ask each of the candidates to answer a question. Questions have not been shared with the candidates in advance, and each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the question. In order to ensure that each candidate gets equal exposure and opportunity to respond first, middle, and last to questions, I have arranged a grid that rotates who is asked the question first, second, and last. Therefore, no one will know who will be asked the next question except for the first person. So on, and so that no person gets an advantage in anticipating their order in answering the questions. After all the candidates have responded to a question, they will be offered an opportunity for 1 rebuttal, 30 seconds for that question. Following the Q&A, each candidate will deliver a 2-minute closing statement. We are fortunate tonight to have Sharon Dowling here as our timekeeper. She will be holding up a yellow sign, which she's going to show right now, which gives a 30-second warning. She will not hold it up the entire time, just long enough for the candidates to see it. She will then put it down. She will then follow by a red alert card, which clearly says stop, and lets the candidates know, finish your sentence, not a run-on sentence, not a paragraph, just finish your sentence so that we can be fair with the time that each candidate gets. Time limits are strictly enforced, and thank you, Sharon, for playing that role. A reminder once again to turn off your phones, and we will begin with opening comments. As I indicated, the candidates did respond first, second, and last, and I believe, coincidentally, Deb, who's sitting right in the front here, that you selected to go first. So Deb, I want to make sure the timer is ready for the 2-minute timing with a 30-second reminder, and once Deborah begins speaking, you will start the timing. Deb, your opening comments.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Deb Brody. I've lived in Scotch Plains for at least 34 years. My husband also graduated from the high school here. We have 4 children, all of which are successful adults. 3 children are married, and 2 children have chosen to make roots in Fanwood. This speaks volumes about our school district and community. I finished my undergrad degree in accounting when my children were small. I then earned 2 master's degrees, one in management systems analysis and one in accounting. I have run my own consulting business for more than 20 years. I have been president of the PTA for Coles Elementary, Terrell Middle School, the high school, and PTA Council. I had been a treasurer for the Education Enrichment Foundation, and I currently am a board member of the Scotch Plains Fanwood Scholarship Foundation. My newest volunteer endeavor is extremely rewarding. My dog Josie and I are a new therapy dog team for creature comfort. I'm honored to have her visit with people to reduce their stress and bring some sunshine to their day. Being on the Board of Education is a natural extension to my volunteer service. I want to be part of our school district and community to continue the good work we've done so far. There is more work to do in the areas of student enrollment growth and space issues. My finance background helps me understand the complications of school finance while serving as chair of the Finance Committee. I would also like to emphasize our need in our continue to emphasize our need in our DEI efforts and the need to communicate to high school students the option of trades as a viable career path. We have a long way in improving our communications between the board and the public. We are continuing to improve in this area. In a short time, we have created social presence and created monthly newsletters. There are many more steps that we continually work on improving. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. And I will ask that before I turn it over to Karen, that you state how you are indicated on the ballot, what the name will say, so people know.
Oh, it's Deborah, D-E-B-O-R-A, Brody.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Timer, want to make sure you're ready? Okay, next we'll be hearing opening statements from Karen. Timer, you ready? Okay.
Good evening. I'm Karen Kulikowski, and currently I am on the Board of Education and have been since April of 2009. I joined the Board of Ed after going through countless committees at PTAs from School 1 and Park Middle School, also including being the president of the Park Middle School PTA for 3 of the 4 years my son was there, and 1 year as PTA council president. When my son graduated, I continued sharing my talents with the community by being the membership chair at UCVTS, that's Union County Vocational Technical Schools, where my son did a full-time program. I also was then PTSO president at UCVTS for his junior and senior year. And once he was finished with that, it was just natural for me to progress and join the Board of Education. Thankfully, I have been reelected several times. I enjoy my time on the Board of Ed. We have a very cohesive board at this time. We all work well together. We all enjoy each other's company, and we like serving our community. As a dentist by trade, I have also been an educator and taught dental hygiene and dental assisting for 37 years with the University of Medicine and Dentistry, so I understand what class size and controlling a situation is all about. With my healthcare background, we also want to make sure that everybody has equal opportunity and access to everything. And I want to thank you for coming out tonight and listening to all of our rebuttals and answers to the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And now please state how your name will be shown on the ballot so they know how to find you.
Karen Kulikowski, Karen Kulikowski.
Thank you, Karen. And third, John, you selected to go third. Timer, are you ready? Great. John?
Hi, everyone. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, and thank you for the PTA Council for hosting this event and putting this together. I know it's never easy. My name is John Greenblatt. I have been a Scotch Plains resident for roughly 11 years. I lived in Manhattan before this. When the time came to it, when my wife and I decided I want to have kids and raise a family, we didn't know much about Scotch Plains coming into it, but we did our homework, and that's why we relocated here. And thankfully, a couple of years later now, I have two beautiful daughters who are 9 and 5. They're both enrolled at Evergreen. Part of the reason that I chose to run was to be a passenger, I would say, on their journey through the school district, and be someone that could be vocal and help guide them. As far as career-wise, I spent almost 2 decades in HR. So I worked as an HR business partner. I worked as a learning and development manager. I also worked as an executive recruiter for multiple years, so supporting talent development, learning programs for adult learners across the globe, adult learning theories, practicing that. In lieu of that, I also did my MBA in industrial organizational psychology and organizational behavior, so 2 fields that are dedicated to developing people, and that's something that I would like to do, at the level of helping our students foster their growth and our high schoolers be able to prepare them for their career progression and what's to come as they get older. I left my full-time job of nearly 2 decades to start my own career development and career coaching business. So now I train people on career aspirations, career goals, deliver presentations on personal development and professional development. So I feel like that would really intertwine well with what we're trying to accomplish here in getting our learners ready for the next step in their life.
Thank you, John. Will you please indicate how your name will appear on the ballot?
Sure, it's going to be John Greenblatt, John, Greenblatt, Greenblatt.
Great. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
And now for our last opening statement. Tanya, timer, you ready? Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you for the League of Women Voters and the PTA Council. This is a great opportunity. My name is Tanya Williams, and I'm enthusiastically running for re-election for a 4th term to the Scotch Plains Board of Ed. I am the proud mother of 3 children who all graduated and went to this school district. I'm also a proud graduate of Scotch Plains Fanwood High School, and I came back to Scotch Plains years ago to raise my children because I wanted to share the wonderful experience I had with them when I was raised in this town. I've been active for many years in the school district through volunteering as a room parent and as a member of the PTA. In the greater Scotch Plains family community, I've also volunteered as a Girl Scout leader for 13 years, also volunteering in the Youth Basketball League in Scotch Plains and Fanwood. I'm passionate about my children and the children in our beautiful town and the educational achievement of the students in our district. I want to do all I can to ensure our children receive the best education possible to prepare them for a successful future. Our schools must provide the environment and opportunity for all students to achieve and excel. Professionally, I am a business owner in town. I work with seniors, and I'm also a realtor. And just recently, I became a health coach, and chairing the Wellness and Equity Committee is one of my really proud moments to be able to continue to bring health and wellness to our students and also our staff and our faculty. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. We have finished with the opening comments, and we'll now start with the questions. And Tanya, you'll be fortunate enough to be the first one to answer the question.
Awesome.
Okay. For all of you, we'll start with Tanya, and then we will continue randomly down the line. Based on your experiences, what sets you apart from the other candidates seeking the vote of the Scotch Plains voters? Tanya.
Well, as someone who's been raised in this town, I can see the difference between how it was back in the 80s when I was here and currently now, to see where we can close the gap. We still want to continue fostering our children and being able to provide the information that they need to be successful. We have a really strong curriculum committee that I'm really proud of, and we had a meeting the other day, and you just see the differences in how we are really trying to stay in the forefront of the curriculum and also the wellness and equity. So those are the two that I would say that that I'm most proud of and that I see the direction our school is headed in.
Thank you, Tanya. Next person to answer the question is Karen.
Thank you. What sets me apart as a board member is the longevity on the board and my willingness to continue as an unpaid elected official to help our students and our staff in our district to become gainfully employed adults when they leave our high school, and to give them career choices and opportunities. Not everyone has to go to a four-year college. And the fact that I was an educator, advice, I have been on the curriculum committee, as Tanya said, and as Deb said in her opening remarks, that vocational, technical education is just as viable and important as a college education for 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And we happen to be going on reverse order on the table. John, you'll be next to answer the question.
Yeah, so to piggyback off what Karen said about vocational and gainfully employed students, I mean, that's what I've dedicated my whole life to. For 20-plus years, I've worked in HR, talent development. I've built programs for employee training, their growth, their progress. Today, in my own business, doing career coaching, interview coaching, I work with a lot of students coming out of college that lack direction. So it's something that I feel, pretty well versed in, to be able to understand what the market demands today and prepare our students for those market demands. I mean, evolving technologies, how that's going to replace a lot of jobs. How do we counter that by building the right skills in our students? How do we get them more active in our schools to give them hands-on learning experiences, like making them part of, if they want to go into digital marketing, being part of digital marketing initiatives throughout the school. So engaging them in ways that they can build, really hands-on skills going into the next step in their journey in their lives. So.
Thank you, John. I may suggest you pull the mic a little closer to
Oh,
yourself.
sorry.
No, you just pull the whole microphone. There you go, a little closer. Great. Deb, I guess you assume that you're the last to answer this question.
I guess so.
So, Time, are you ready? Deb.
I think what sets me apart is that my passion for the school district and the community at large. The amount of time that my family and I volunteer and try to help improve the school district and the community is immeasurable. I'm very proud of the fact that my children have come back here. They paid premium for their homes, but it was worth it for them to come back here for this school district and this community. And I want to continue to foster that and improve upon that. So, that's it.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you. So our next question, we received more questions on this topic than any other. So no surprises here. Here's the question. You can all guess what it was. Why do you think the referendum did not pass? We definitely are in need of space, and our schools are and will continue to be overcrowded. How would you have done things differently to help it pass, which might be hard for John to talk about not being on the board. It might be more geared towards the board members. But there's a second part that, John, you could answer, and that is, in what direction would you lead the district in post-referendum? Specifically, what process steps will you advocate so that the town can move forward with solving this problem? And, John, you are the first to answer this question.
So as mentioned, I wasn't on the board, so I didn't really have much say in the decision-making process. So I would say, one thing that I would like to see is the RFP responses as a community member. I think we can share those. I think we can also talk about, I know we've talked about alternatives that were explored. I think the more detail that's given to the public, the more they'll feel comfortable with understanding that maybe if those alternatives weren't viable, then they'll have a better understanding of why and why not. So I'd say to do that. The questions, I don't know if I would have necessarily tied them together, so maybe we could separate them for the next time around. And I think we could have, saved money and time by having it on the general election ballot. And if not, we could have done it earlier so that we could have, if it failed, we could have put it on the general election ballot. And that way, we would have had two opportunities to get this right in the same year. So I would have made those slight changes to the process. And like I said, not being in the room, I don't know what was explored, but that's just my general insights.
Thank you, John. Deb, next to answer the question.
I think that it did not pass because we did our best trying to communicate out the information that was, we had it all discussed at the Board of Ed meetings. It was all on YouTube, all our past meetings, but somehow we just didn't reach everybody that we really needed to reach. And I think that we should have done more of a different approach, like possibly more mailings, held more forums. We did have a parent forum to help us communicate, but we just didn't get like deep into the community. And I think the next time we do this or anything moving forward, these are some of the things we've learned, and we want to continue with the public's help to move forward with this. And I think that's really why it didn't pass. So we learned a lot of things. We got a lot of feedback from the community, and we're going to move forward with all that information.
Thank you, Deb. Tanya, next to answer the question.
Thought you were going to go down the line.
Nope, it's random, and we're going to catch you off guard. Everyone gets a fair chance at
No,
that.
I'm kidding. Okay. So I would say there was definitely a disconnect. And probably there were a lot of great ideas from the community, what we could have done. Developing a task force to get all those great ideas and put them together so that everyone can be involved. Possibly having more meetings, reaching our seniors that don't have any ties to the school. They felt disconnected and didn't have a voice. So definitely developing a task force and getting the community involved and putting our heads together to get this done.
Thank you, Tanya. And the last to answer this question, Karen.
Thank you. I think some people just didn't get it, and they voted against it, thinking they were going to save tax money, but the problem will still exist, and we still need to have space. In 2000, we had a referendum that passed where we did add space to many of the schools, but there's nowhere else to add on to for the schools, so that's why that's not an option. And we really wanted to get rid of the villas and the trailers out back because they are coming to end of life. So we don't want to see students going outside of the building. So hopefully in the future, more people could be reached by having more committee meetings, although we did have several. We did have things on YouTube. The word was out there. I think some people they don't want to spend more tax money, and they wanted not to vote for it. The thing they voted for was the air conditioning, the fire alarms, communication system, security. That's great, and that we do need that, but we really need space. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. We have a rebuttal from John, which is a 30-second rebuttal. Want to make sure the timer is all set. There you go. John.
Yeah, and with the tax increases too, I think a lot of people just, I know this is not on the board, but the funnel is there's overdevelopment, and part of the overdevelopment is contributing to this. Developers are giving the township money in pilot money, and the schools are not seeing any of this money. So how do we work and engage the council and put pressure on them to give us enough money to cover the costs of this development? And I think that's another part to the tax piece, is we're just feeling like we're not fostering this development, and we're not getting any money contributed to it by the people that are forcing it.
Thank you, John. So now that we've covered what the candidates would have expected, a little bit about what differentiates you, and of course, I'm sure you expected the referendum question. I'm just going to give you the categories, so as you answer questions, you know the kind of questions that'll be coming later. The categories are, and for the audience, community engagement, strategic plan, key challenges, communication, and teacher support, staff retention, and the calendar. So those, and then we have one or two candidate specific, just so that you know what's coming, okay? So next, Deb, you will be the next one to answer this question, and it's question number 3. How should the Board of Ed better engage the community in order to come up with a sustainable and workable path forward? Deb.
We need to be more integral in the community, where we where we go to senior centers not necessarily when we want something, just to inform people of what's going on, and to let the community know of all the good things that are going on in our schools. It always seems that we're always engaged with the community when we want something, and that's a spin that we need to change moving forward. And we need to do it in such a way that we get everybody, not just Facebook, not just Instagram. We need to do it, like I said earlier, with mailers. We need to go to meetings with people and spend more time, integrally within the communities.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Next to answer the question, John.
Yeah, so coming from a consulting background, I spent a lot of time in engaging stakeholders to understand their perspectives, understand their needs, because at the end of the day, the community are our stakeholders. So we need to understand what drives them, what motivates them, what their needs are, what their kids' needs are. Part of community engagement is to build trust. One instance that happened that I could think of, when we hired the new principal for this school, I'm not going to make comment on whether he's qualified or not qualified. He could be fantastic. But a survey was sent out 2 days prior to the hiring decision being made. So that survey came out 2 days before. So yes, we gave input, but that decision was made so rapidly that we know that input wasn't taken into consideration. So those are little things. We have a lot of talented individuals in this town, from all walks of life and all different professions, and we need to lean on them to be resources for us to make decisions, especially when it comes to large ticket items like space and financing.
Thank you, John. Karen, next to answer the question.
I think we could engage the community by letting them know that the concerts, the shows, everything that goes on at the schools is an open door for them to come and watch and have some free entertainment. We can put ads in the newspaper, continue to do our Facebook shout-outs that we do almost every day. I see something on Facebook about one school or another. And I agree with Deb in that reaching out and going to centers and groups, maybe Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, and having them invited to come to the board meetings just to see what it's like, even if they only stay for the first half of an hour, just to see what goes on. I know several times we've had high school students come because it was part of an assignment, and they'll come and stay for part of the meeting. And certainly when we are recognizing sports teams, they come and they see what goes on, and then they leave after they get their recognition. But I think opening it up to other groups to say we have an open door policy, come see what our schools are doing, would be a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And Tanya, the last to answer this question.
Thank you. There's always work that needs to be done, and we're always evolving and trying to improve how we can communicate to our stakeholders. We're on the board, so of course we have firsthand knowledge of what goes on, but there's, like I said, always improvement. But certain activities that we have going on, for instance, Scotch Plains Day would have been an opportunity for us to have a booth out there and talk to the public, Fannywood Day, and maybe participating in Memorial Day Parade, but just being more available and building the trust of the community so that they can see what we do and what our thoughts are, not just waiting until the last minute, perhaps where it appears to be the last minute, but it's not, but just really getting the message out there.
Thank you, Tanya.
You're welcome.
The next question is still under community engagement. It's the fourth question tonight. Karen, you'll be the first one to answer. Would you advocate for having a working citizen committee to improve engagement? Karen.
I certainly would advocate for a citizens engagement committee, just like we recently added over the past 2 years, having a student be on the board. They would be another committee, as we have other committees, curriculum, finance, facilities. We can have a citizen committee, and they could share ideas from their friends, their neighbors, help us work on projects, help us come to an agreement on where to go and what direction, and what would they like to see with our schools being done. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. John, next to answer the question.
100%. I would advocate for a working citizens committee. A big part of being in learning and development, and especially practicing adult learning theories, that adult learning theory says you draw off the experiences of people around you. So what we need to do is know what we don't know, right? There are people out there that have really good professional experience in different capacities, whether it's technology or finance or construction. And the idea that we can draw off those people's experiences to make decisions for our future and for our school district, I think that would be fantastic to be able to engage people that way. And not only have working committees for that, but, bring more professionals into the schools to talk to our students, give them career previews, talk about what they do every day, and see if those are paths that our students want to take, because they'll have somebody advocating for those career paths and giving the good, the bad, the ugly. But yeah, working committees would be very beneficial to what we do as a school district.
Thank you, John. Tanya, next to answer the question.
Thank you, absolutely. A working committee would be beneficial to engage our stakeholders, to engage the community, and we have a lot of talent in this school district, as we've seen with the referendum. A lot of people had a lot of ideas, and why not use that?
Thank you, Tanya. Next question is, I'm sorry, Deb. Deb, I'm sorry. Wanted to make sure you're paying attention. Deb, the last to answer this question.
I think that would be a fabulous idea, and I think that it should have rotating members, and I think that it should be a total cross-section of the whole community, from high school students to seniors, male, female, all different ethnicities and religions, and really be able to hear what the community has to say. And we would absolutely invite that, and it would be fabulous.
Thank you, Deb. Deb, you're lucky enough to be the first for the next question. We're now going to be talking about strategic plan. What initiatives or goals would you like to include in the district's strategic plan for the next 3 years? Timer ready? Deb.
Well, our strategic plan is coming to an end, so we'll be doing this again very shortly. Absolutely, we need to address the space needs. It's still an issue, and we're going to have to address it and come up with some creative ways to get around it. When we do the strategic plan, we have a community involvement, which has really been great. I've been involved with a number of them over the years as a parent, as a PTA member, and as a Board of Ed member. We get a lot of good feedback from there. We also need to continue with our career planning with our students. I don't want so much focus on college. That's not always the way to go. Some students are better off doing trades or doing other things. So more of a diverse career planning for students as they're getting out of school would be a focus as well.
Thank you, Deb.
Thanks.
Karen, next to answer the question.
The strategic plan is usually at least 3 nights, and it is usually guided to us by the Union County School Boards Association leadership. And we do seek public input and what they want on the committee. It's not necessarily what we want. But I agree with Deb in that career choices is a big part of what we have to have. I would like to see something where they're planning their lunches or what they would like for lunch, and then having our lunch service prepare those kinds of foods so that there is a variety, although the lunch service is very good. But I think having the input from the public and seeing what they want, in addition to space, class size number, things like that, it would be something we would talk about at the strategic plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Tanya, next to answer the question.
Thank you. So I would definitely say wellness, wellness and equity, and continuing our hiring practices of educational and support staff, curriculum development, and student empowerment. And when I think of wellness, I think of inclusion and making sure that all of our students have access, and bringing back middle school sports is something that I'm passionate about. And I would say that I would like to see that on the strategic plan.
Thank you, Tanya. And the last to answer this question, John.
Sure. Yes, I agree with a lot of the things that were set up here. Definitely space. For sure, you want to create a strong environment for diverse learners, right? Everybody has different learning styles and different ways they take in information. So that was something that I had to do throughout my career, is build learning programs that really fit the learning styles of my audience. I'd like to see personal finance classes throughout the schools, because like was set up here. Not everybody goes to a four-year college. Not everybody takes finance classes. So, giving some students accountability in that manner. Enrichment, I'd like to see more focus on spending time and money and resources on enrichment programs. And then lastly, performance. I mean, our students' performance, how they perform on state assessments, how they perform in the classroom. I mean, I looked at some of the data over the last year, and we've not met standards, federal standards in a lot of areas. In math specifically, we haven't met standards. So I'd like to see a renewed focus on the performance of all of our students.
Thank you, John. And you've kind of led into our next question, which is key challenges. Tanya, you'll be the first to answer the question. What do you think the 3 biggest issues are that are impacting our schools? Provide reasons and possible solutions all in a minute.
All right, here I go. Space, that goes without saying. We've been talking about space. And, oh my goodness, what else? Well, there's a few different ones. So, as I mentioned before, making sure that we bring back middle school sports. I've heard that several occasions about parents wanting to have something for their kids in the middle schools. So space, middle school sports, and curriculum. We'll say curriculum.
Are you
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you, Tanya.
You're welcome.
Deb, you're next.
Okay, space, again, as Tanya had said, that's an issue. We're going to have to address that. Clearly, the reason is because of everybody wants to come live in our wonderful set of towns, and so we have to figure it out. So that's, I don't really have an answer for that yet, but that's a big issue. We do have funding issues from the state. We are not very well funded. And we have a lot of unfunded mandates. And the reason is the state government, obviously, and how we combat that, that's a political issue, and it's not necessarily easy for us as a group to do it, but we belong to Garden State Coalition of Schools who helps us do that, advocate for us there. And as far as the curriculum is concerned, it's always a challenge to be innovative and diverse with our curriculum. We're doing a really great job with that, and we just need to continue with that.
Thank you, Deb. John, next to answer the question.
Okay. So I'll start off with performance. I mean, like I mentioned before about the assessments, I think we just need to improve how much rigor is involved in how we challenge our students. I have a kindergartner that's just started at Evergreen, and they have no homework policy. We actually had a side discussion with our teacher to give her homework because the school she came from, she was getting more homework than my older daughter. So I want them to be challenged. I want more rigor. My older daughter, I'd say, I see her homework coming home, and it's 10 minutes of math homework. So I'd like to see them really challenged to be better and work harder. And of course, the other 2 I would go with are, as was mentioned, space. And I think we need to work with our counterparts in the planning board and the council to address these funding issues that are associated with space. And last, just modernization and how we deliver learning. We were using Google Meet during the pandemic. We could do live look-ins when students are absent or they have COVID or can't attend school that day. So we just need to be a little bit more modern in how we deliver
Thank
our
you, John.
education.
Karen, to finish up this line of questioning.
So obviously, space is my number 1 concern, and thereby maintaining comfortable class sizes. Next, I would say we need to continue to hire diverse educators so that our students have more opportunity to be in classrooms with people that are more like them or different from ones that they've had before. My other one is scheduling. There's been studies out to say that high school students need more sleep and they should start later than they do. And I think looking at the way we organize our classes, the schedules of classes, that could be also updated or revised somehow to go along with that to have our students more comfortable in the learning environment. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was a challenge to be able to discuss 3 issues and solutions in a minute. You all did a great job. So thank you for that. Now, you were all talking about, all of you had in common space as an issue. And when you talked about that as part of the referendum earlier, you all talked about leading to our next question, which was communication with the community. So John, you're the first to answer this question, and this is the specific question around communication. How can the school district allow better transparency, communication, and cooperation between administrators and families to promote a more supportive environment? John?
Yes, I think was mentioned that we make sure that our communications reach their target audiences, right? One of the things that we have is a lot of disparate communication. So I have social media posts coming through the PTA. I have email communications coming to my inbox. So there's a lot of oversights that I have when seeing what's going on in the district and knowing, all the information that's available. So, for me, working in technology for a long time, I look at central hubs that you can create where there's, solutions where you can create a centralized repository where you put all your communications, all your files, and you could have the community actively engage in finding that information pretty easily. The other thing too is just to make people feel like there's an open door policy, like that board meetings aren't contentious, that people can come to you and they can talk to you about different topics, and not fear that there will be any reprisal of it. So it's just building trust and making people feel comfortable with communications.
Thank you, John. Tanya, next to answer the question.
We hired a communication consultant, and in our strategic plan, we discussed how we could communicate to our stakeholders. So I would go back to them and see what was the best way, how is the best way we can communicate, because we communicate on social media, email, but of course there's more opportunity to communicate. But I would go back to the community and say, what's the best way for you, how we can communicate important information to you. Besides coming to the Board of Ed meetings, it's not always convenient for, if you have children at night, to be able to come to the Board of Ed meetings, or we just have to talk to the community and see what's the best way that we can communicate information to them.
Thank you, Tanya. Deb, next to answer the question.
Well, we over the years, and we still do, we hold in-person meetings, and it's unfortunate that we do not get a lot of attendance for those. These are great opportunities to just sit in a room like this with the superintendent and Board of Ed and just ask questions. I'm not really sure where the disconnect is as to why that people don't come, or they're not, and we have one during the day, one in the evening as well. So we need to figure out how we're going to get that information out to people, and maybe just do smaller check-ins with people to be able to communicate. We do have the website. It's sometimes a little clunky, to be honest with you, but it's there, and it has all the information on there that we need. And we do have over 10 years of Board of Ed meetings on YouTube that you can watch them live as we're having them. You can't ask questions at the same time, but you can always ask questions the next day or that night and email us, and we can get back to you. We can't have forums where just one of us speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. And Karen, to finish off this line of questioning.
As Tanya said and Deb said, we do have electronic forms with emails, Facebook, the website. However, there's lots of people who either don't or won't go online, and they want their information in another way. So perhaps maybe a hard copy newsletter, more open meetings, and as Deb also alluded to, twice a year we do have a morning and an evening meeting that is not taped, that is in a room similar to this, where people can come from public and ask us anything they want. It's not recorded. And Dr. Mast is always available via email and telephone. If anyone from the community has a question, they don't have to come to a board meeting in order to have communication with her, whether they have a question or they want to propose something. So I think we have to have more alternate, not just electronic media, because there are some people who just are not into that. And I think inviting people to a face-to-face meeting like this, and doing a survey of the committee to see how they want to be communicated with. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Deb, you'll be the first to answer this question. The topic is teacher support and staff retention. Considering the teacher recruiting and retention issues nationally, how will you help to support the teachers that would positively help with recruiting new teachers, retention, and maintaining a high-caliber teaching staff if you are elected? Deb, you go first.
I'm not really sure how to answer that question. We just we do not get involved with the teacher recruitment. We hire based on recommendations from the superintendent and the HR department. But what I can do is support all of the endeavors that they're doing to get a diverse staff hired. And we have very rigorous and innovative professional development programs here that we support that as well, that help keep the staff moving forward in their own education. We had a successful contract negotiation the last time, which was not usual for us. That was wonderful. And we do actually really have a pretty good retention of our staff. We have turnover, everybody has turnover, but we have staff here that's been here 25 years or more. So thank you.
Thank you, Deb. And just for clarity on the question, in case it was a little confusing, if you want, instead of recruiting, it could be attracting. Like, what are you doing within the district to attract, not necessarily recruit teachers? And the key word was how to help support the teachers. So feel free to talk about that. And if that changes what you would say at all, Deborah, feel free to say something at the rebuttal. But when I say teacher recruiting, it's really attracting the kind of talent that you want, holding on to them, and what you're doing to support the teachers. So with that, Tanya.
We have a really good district, and when we went to what do you call it on the first day that we did? I don't remember. What's that called? Right, convocation, right. You saw the teachers who were there 20 years, 30 years, and that was really nice to see. But again, we can always do better on how we can retain the teachers, but we don't have a high turnover. But we also have very good professional development. We hear about what they do from Dr. McGarry on the professional development. Sometimes when school is out, the teachers are still in school developing their skills. And it seems as if they all have a really good friendship and they're tight-knit. So this is a great school district, so you should come here and teach.
Thank you, Tanya. Karen, same question.
I agree with Deb. We don't recruit outward, but we do provide a wonderful community-based school district, and teachers do stay here long. We've actually had some that were here for 40 and 45 years when we were a convocation that we stood up at our milestone years. And I don't see people leaving unless they're leaving to do child rearing or their spouse is relocating for their job. People don't just leave. When we do have student teachers, they are certainly welcomed and made welcome to come here and be retained as teachers after they did their student teaching. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And John, to finish off this line of questioning.
Yeah, this is where I spent a large part of my career, so I could probably talk about this for an hour. But yeah, I think part of, retention is, you want to create an environment where there's engagement, right? So you want your teachers to be engaged and feel like they have ownership of decisions, ownership of what goes on in the district, ownership of their job, right? So the more autonomy we give them, the more we create a high-performance culture, that the more they'll want to stay. So that's important. There's a good old saying that says you don't quit your job, you quit your manager. So installing good leadership in the schools. So the better the leadership, the better the district leadership, the better the school leadership, the more teachers will want to stay. And then I know that teachers struggle with a lot of times their classroom needs and their resources. So providing them with the appropriate resources, and that could be creative. We did a wish list for, which was my recommendation for Everscream, where we created an Amazon wish list for donations. So maybe classrooms could do that as well for supplies. So that's something that we can do to not hit the teacher's pocket, where a lot of teachers spend money out of pocket.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
So the next question is under staff retention. In regards to support staff, what changes would you make to retain support staff in our district? Neighboring school districts and businesses pay significantly more than the Scotch Plains district. Our district is perpetually struggling with staffing. And, I'm sorry, Karen, you're first to answer this question.
Well, certainly, increasing pay would always attract and maintain staff. Certainly, benefits that are good, vacation policies that are good, It's a comfortable, beautiful community to work in, so that is admirable to just want to be here. But as Deb also alluded before, our negotiation team did do the teacher contract for a longer period of time than we had in the past, and they were very amenable to it. So we are using a longer negotiation period and with fair increases over time. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Deb, same question.
Well, clearly, to increase their pay would be helpful. The other thing is, I know they, depending on how many hours they work, they get benefits as well. I think it's about the working conditions and maybe how many support staff that they need in a room. You don't want to overwhelm a support staff person either, because then no matter how much money you pay them, it won't make any difference. So there's a lot of challenges to that, because there's just challenges in getting subs as well. So that's an issue as well. So it's just a labor issue in general, although I know that the other neighboring districts might pay more, but I think they have the same issue of not having enough support staff.
Thank you, Deb. John, same question.
So yeah, I mean, obviously pay would make a huge difference and it's a motivator, but in a lot of cases, and when you look at younger professionals, pay is not one of the primary motivators in all cases. So when you look at, it could be work life, it could be opportunity, right? So if their support staff and their goal is to eventually become a teacher or to have an administrative role, it's how do we help them with career pathing? So there could be very different motivators to get support staff to be engaged in their role and also and find value in what they're doing. And again, they could be ancillary benefits, or it could be just something that is, understanding their needs and building something that, speaks to what they're looking for in terms of their career longevity.
Thank you, John. Tanya, the last to answer this line of questioning.
Thank you. Well, I serve on the negotiations committee, and it was really enlightening to see what some of the teachers and the staff were really wanting. And pay was one, but it was also benefits and their study time and the start time. So those are maybe opportunities that we can look at to see if that would be more amiable for the teachers and the staff, just looking at those right there, benefits and the study time and the start time.
Thank you, Tanya.
You're welcome.
The next two questions are candidate-specific, kind of. John, you have a question just for you, and then the next question will be for the other three. John, for you, a new candidate, whereas the others on the board are returning candidates, what are you bringing to the Board of Ed that is different?
So yeah, I think 20 years in private sector, working and understanding how operations work and building strategy. Also, having consulted for public sector arenas too in government, having both perspectives of how they operate, I think that's helpful. Spent a lot of part of my career of engaging stakeholders. I mean, that's a huge part of working in learning and development in the corporate world is you understand the needs of each business area and you build something to their needs. So that's something that I think I can bring to the table is I know we struggle in community engagement and stakeholder engagement. So that's something where I've done that. I've been in front of people. I've presented to them. I've asked, what are your needs and how do we build something that suits your needs? So something that I feel very confident in that I could be able to do is be able to, maybe bridge that gap between where we're at as a board and what the community thinks of us and how they perceive us, and also making sure that we're meeting their needs.
Thank you. Tanya, you're the next to answer this question. This is for the three incumbents on the board. The question is, can you please tell us about one accomplishment that you are proud of where you played an instrumental role this past year on the Board of Ed?
I would say renaming Park Middle School to Malcolm E. Nettingham. Mr. Nettingham was a neighbor of mine, and when he passed away, a local Tuskegee Airman, I brought that idea to the board and to Dr. Mass, and I said, why don't we think about renaming the school? And then we went to the principal, who made it a whole curriculum and a whole event, and I would say that was probably my most proudest moment, to rename that school and honor a local hero.
Thank you. Tanya?
You're welcome.
Karen? Now, same question to you.
As vice president, I've had to run several meetings if our president was not able to be at the meeting, and also lead several Board of Ed meetings because he was unavailable. And, that happens, and that's why we have president and vice president. But since I was president before, I understand these things, and I was able to fill in for Evan.
Thank you. Karen? Deb, the last to answer this round of questioning.
It's really hard to say one accomplishment because we all work together as a team, so we don't, Tanya's example and Karen's example are different. I'm a board member, but I am chair of the Finance Committee and Community Relations Committee. Although we had, it might not seem like we had great communications, we've come a very long way in how we used to communicate with the public to how we are doing it now. So my accomplishment, I would say, would be even starting and working really hard with the Community Relations Committee, getting on social media, supporting that, supporting the newsletters, and looking forward to how we're going to create more communication venues for the community, to the district.
Thank you, Deb. 2 more questions. The first one is a very specific one, but it does touch on diversity. And then the last one is a great one, I think, to wrap up on. So it's a long question. It's a lot of facts. I will read through all the facts, and then I will reemphasize what the question is, okay? So let me just go through it. In the spring of the person to answer this first is John, okay? In the spring of 2024, the district refused to give days off for the first 2 days of Passover, a very widely observed Jewish holiday that features seders that run late into the night, and to add insult to injury, although this is not my question, this came from the community, multiple school events were scheduled on these days. Given the diversity of Scotch Plains community, Scotch Plains Fanwood community, what do you think the district should do to better accommodate its Jewish community? Because in 2027, when once again Easter and Passover will not coincide. So it's acknowledging the problem that existed in 2024 and what can be done so that for the upcoming in 2027, where this could clearly be a problem again, what would you as a board member be willing to do? Is the question clear? Okay, John.
So I think just being cognizant of the calendar, listening to your community, so understanding that this is going to, we have 3 years' notice, so we know that this is going to be an issue, so I think that's plenty of time to find a resolution to it. But yeah, I think we don't penalize anybody for observing. We make sure we make accommodations to catch whoever has to miss these certain days catch them up on the learning that they may have missed. And I think we can, again, this comes back down to just understanding community needs and building stuff around it. Obviously you can't accommodate every need because it's going to create a nightmare for scheduling for everybody. But I know we've taken strides with that, with recognizing Diwali and recognizing other holidays, so I think that's a step in the right direction. And I think we can maybe even do something with like floating holidays where we allow for people to take the day off that they observe with no penalty to their attendance. So I think we can do something of that nature to accommodate everybody.
Thank you, John. Tanya, the next to answer this question.
Thank you. Well, the calendar has always been a challenge, but maybe looking forward to see how we can accommodate all the holidays so that no one feels slighted and we can continue, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and just identify where we can maybe, I know that's tough. The calendar is always tough, and I know we have challenges with that. But maybe set up a task force to see how we can solve the problem, see how we can work together and make sure everyone's happy. And not everyone's going to be happy, but how we can all be some semblance of happiness.
Thank you, Tanya. Karen, same question.
As everyone is saying, the calendar is a challenge. There is a calendar meeting where all representatives from the PTA from every school meet with the board, with the representative and people from the schools, and they do also meet with Dr. Mast and the ministerium, so that all religious leaders in the community do point out specific religious high holy days and celebrations. And I agree, we have added, as John said, more holidays to the calendar to accommodate for Diwali and Chinese New Year, et cetera. But by doing this, which we are happy to do, does extend the school year, and we did delay the end of the school year for this coming year. We got a little pushback by adding those holidays and therefore changing when graduation would be. So I agree, it's something to work on. Maybe starting before Labor Day going forward would get us back to getting out earlier in June, but we need a definite task force to work on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And then Deb, to finish off this line of questioning.
We are continually always working on trying to make everybody as happy as possible with the calendar. It is impossible to do. But we do acknowledge that there's an issue with that. We do our best. We do, if we are in school on a holiday such as Passover, or really any religious holiday, and the children need to take off, we already allow that without penalty to the student. And we just have to make sure that that's followed, let's say, because there's a rhythm to a teacher's school day and school week, and there's a rhythm to a coach's school week as well. But I do agree that on some of those higher holy days, depending whatever religion you are, that we should not have school activities scheduled at that time. I think we need to work with that.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Deb. Thank you. The last question, I think, is a perfect question because it really gives you each a chance to talk about your top agenda items. So Karen, I'm going to start with you. The question is, what are the top agenda items you have on your list which you want to address as soon as elected, which are not being handled currently or you would like to see handled differently? Karen.
Well, when we're on the board, it's not about us. It's not what we want. It's what the district needs. And I think continuing with the human resources to find diverse, highly qualified faculty members and staff members is probably a number one issue, in addition to the space issue, which, we are working on that. We're trying to figure out how we can move forward with the part of the referendum that was approved and continually deciding what we can do in order to make space or gain space going forward with that, because it's not going away. Third issue, as I always, is the nutrition and the school lunches and having student make choices on what they want. I think that would be a good idea. They have improved, but I think we could still go further in what the students want. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Deb, same question.
As the Finance Committee Chair, we really need to work on space and how to do this in the most cost-effective way for the community. So that is one of my highest priorities at this time. And also, as I had mentioned earlier, to focus more on the trades. It's a lost art, and you could be extremely successful being working in the trades, and we really have a shortage of those capabilities. So I really want to focus on that more so. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Tanya, next to answer the question.
Wellness and nutrition in schools, in our schools, looking at the menu. I know some of the food choices aren't really good for our children. So looking at that, the nutrition, and of course, ongoing the space of the children, and not having a dedicated space for music, and having more room, having smaller class sizes. And as I said before, middle school sports, would love to see that come back to the community as well. And just focusing on those items are important to me, but we're a collective group here, so we're all working together to make sure our children are good, and our staff.
Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
John, the last to answer the last of our questions.
No pressure. So I think, top three priorities, I would say performance for me. I come from a world of, performance-driven culture. So, having our kids be competitive with everybody around us. I mean, it is a competitive world. In the job market, you have 250 applicants per job right now. That's just the truth of it. You have 3% hit rate on interviews. So you submit 100 applications, you get 3 responses. That's the average. So it's very competitive. We need to remain competitive. We need to challenge our students. So that's one. Providing a voice for the community, right? So knowing that they're the ultimate stakeholder and that if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, that I'm just a beacon for them to share their concerns, share their needs, and I represent what their needs are. And then last, I would say, just creating a healthy learning environment where everybody feels comfortable and everybody feels like there's empathy and that their voice is heard. So that, so that our children, don't already have to deal with the stress of the outside world and bring it home to schools also.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
So we now have come to the close of our evening, and I'd first want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity from the League to be here. This was a great evening, and I want to thank the candidates for their participation tonight to let the voters know where they stand on the issues that are important to them. But I've got to say that you voters are darn lucky to have such highly qualified, committed candidates to select from. You've got a tough decision. They all had very thoughtful answers. I thought it was a really meaningful night, and I appreciate how you worked to make it a very important and an evening where the voters could really get to know what was important to you and what you think is important to the voters. I'd like to thank the audience right here for coming out tonight on this gorgeous night and joining us, and those of you watching online. And before I turn the podium over to Suzanne for closing comments, on behalf of the League of Women Voters, it's important for me to remind you to vote. There are 3 ways to vote this year: by mail, early voting, or in person on Election Day, November 7th, always the first Tuesday in November. Registration deadlines for in-person, online, and must be postmarked in the mail by October 17th. That's the registration deadline for in-person, online, or postmarked by mail. You could also go to the League of Women Voters.org and go to the election section, and it's a great thing that will give you all kinds of information about the elections, or go to vote411.org. That provides reliable, nonpartisan information in both English and Spanish, including candidate guides, voter registration, verification, details, unique ballot, everything you'd want to know. I want to thank you again for having me be a part of this. I want to thank Suzanne as I like to call Sharon, Appetizer, right? Appetizer, who really was wonderful to work with, and she really took the lead on organizing all this and getting all the questions and making sure we had all the people. So you're really lucky to have such a committed president of the PTA here at Scotch Plains Fanwood. And I thank Sharon Dowling for being our timekeeper. I think she did an outstanding job. So thank you again for letting me be part of this, and I now turn over the podium to Suzanne.
I'll be quick. Yeah. No, thank you, Joan. We truly appreciate it. I think this was a great event, and I just appreciate your demeanor and your presentation here, because it's very appreciative. Otherwise, Dr. Mass was going to have me stand up here and do it. But no, it's truly a blessing to have you here. To our candidates, thank you so much for coming out tonight. We truly appreciate, to what Joan said, it was just really thoughtful and meaningful to hear from all of you. And hopefully the voters feel that same way to, go out there and vote on November 5th to really make that decision based on all your responses today, because we truly appreciate the care that you have for our community, the care that you have for our children, the care that you have for our school. It's truly appreciated. And, thank you to the PTA Council for all the work that you all do here. So, again, thank you to everybody. We appreciate it. Get out there and vote. And thanks for a great evening.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Pause.
I totally forgot closing statement. Don't hang up yet. Okay. Oh, my goodness, how could I have forgotten that? Oh, my goodness. Okay, okay. And you were letting me close everything. She
I was
was
about to
waiting.
bang the
She was
gavel.
waiting. That's going, how long before she realizes that she hasn't done it? Well, you know what some of the people from the league would do is they would say, good for you, because you got in all the important voting information before the end when people log off. So people, I hope you stayed on board to hear the closing comments, and we will now turn that over. I am sorry for that. So we are going to, where's my list? Okay, so first will be the last one to go.
Yes.
I think it's great to have a little levity and, okay. So, Tanya, you will have 2 minutes. You were the last to go, right,
Yes.
in the opening, so you'll be the first to go in the closing statements. You have 2 minutes with a 30-second warning. Are you ready, timer? Okay. Tanya, closing statements.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. It truly is an honor to be and serve on the Board of Ed in Scotch Plains. I'm running for the reelection for the 4th term, and it really is an honor. Public education is one of our most crucial democratic institutions, and I know that getting a good education is the surest path to economic success that gives all of our students the opportunity to fulfill their dreams and contribute to our economy and democracy. I'm committed to ensuring that every child in Scotch Plains has access to a world-class education and our students can help our country outperform. When I moved back here to Scotch Plains, my classmates would say from school, well, why are you coming back to Scotch Plains? I'm like, to raise my kids. And it has truly been an honor to see my kids be successful in college and in their careers. And just, this town is wonderful. And that's why I live here. And that's why I sent my kids to the schools here. And that's why we're all here, right? And I appreciate all of you passionately coming to our Board of Ed meetings and talking to us and not giving up on us and sharing your ideas with us. We do appreciate it. Being up here requires excellence at every level of our education system. From early learning through secondary education, it means that we must close the achievement gap in our schools and ensure that our children can benefit from high-quality educational opportunities, ensuring that our children can benefit from high-quality, I repeated that, excuse me. All children should have access to an excellent education that empowers them to secure their own freedom and contribute to the betterment of our society. The recipe for success is a collaboration for our parents, our students, through programs that focus on literacy, wellness, and equity. And as you know, wellness and equity is truly my passion. Inclusion, quantitative mastery, and quality citizenship.
Thank you.
Oh, that was
Thank
fast.
you, Tanya.
Thank you.
John, next to present your closing statements.
So thank you again to the League of Women Voters, the PTA Council, and thank you all for the board members that are sitting at the podium with me today. I know it's pretty much a selfless role. As mentioned, it's unpaid and it's all volunteer, so no one's up here for the wrong reasons. So I appreciate all the hard work that's gone into everything that's been done in the district. The reason I'm here today is in the audience right there, my cheering sections that showed up. I have my 2 daughters that are 9 and 5 that are in Evergreen and starting their districts in the district. So I really want to be along for the ride and their journey in schools. I do think that we do have a great community. We have a talented community. We have a very passionate community, as you've seen from the Facebook message boards and from other avenues. So I think we can draw off that, and I think if we can get everybody working together, and that's what I want to do, get everybody working together for the same goal. I mean, we all have the same goal. At the end of the day, everybody's looking out for the best interests of our students and our kids. So I think we just got to get everybody on the same page and working together as opposed to fighting with each other. So that's what I'd like to do. I want to be an advocate for every student. I want to show empathy. I want to be someone that people could turn to and talk to about their experiences. And like I said, I want to be an ear for the constituents. I want people to feel comfortable talking to me about the issues that they feel most passionate about and doing it in a diplomatic way. So with that, the reason I'm running today is because I feel like, throughout my professional career and the things that I've achieved, that's been at the forefront of everything I've done and everything I stand for. So I would appreciate any support on the election, and thank you for everybody coming out tonight and watching.
Thank you, John. Karen, next with closing statements.
Again, thank you for everybody for being here tonight. And for the 15 of my 24 years that I've lived in Scotch Plains, I have given my time and my efforts to the board. I enjoy contributing my talents and supporting the school system. I want to continue doing that for you, and not just because my son is in school, because he's already graduated and gainfully employed, just like Deb's kids. And I appreciate the opportunity I have to continue to grow and learn along with my fellow board members. And I want to provide good, solid learning opportunities for everybody in our district, not just because it was good when my son went. I want to make it even better. And I appreciate you selecting me as one of the board members when you go to the polls on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Deb, and now to wrap up the closing comments.
Okay. I want to thank the PTA Council and the League of Women Voters for organizing the event this evening. Thank you to all who have watched or who will be watching at a later date. I hope that the public was able to learn more about me, to feel confident in allowing me to continue to serve the community in this capacity. It's been really, really rewarding. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding. I feel that I brought expertise and value to the position over the years. I'm very passionate about my role here and would like to continue not only for the students and the staff, but for my children as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. And I want to remind everyone here and online to remind your friends to watch the video. It's recorded. It will be online at the Scotch Plains Fanwood YouTube channel. And this is a great way to get to know who the board members are and how they answer those most important questions to you. So please remember to vote, remind your friends and family to vote, and remind them to watch the video. And thank you all again for attending, and thank you all for coming out as the candidates. Thank you.
Good night.
So those of you who don't know the board members, if you would like to go over and introduce yourselves, or you have anything that you came out to personally discuss with them, feel free before they head out that you can do that. And thank you so much for coming, and please let people know about this and encourage them to come to others and to watch online. Thank you all. Sorry about that. But we Oh, you can take like 20 cents because I know I'm kidding.